Man, you're sitting there and you're multitasking and things happen. All right, there we go. Morning. Welcome to Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer Down here. It's Thursday Thoughts. And we got thoughts. And first and foremost, I know that as we're getting closer to Winter Storm Elliott, I think that's where we are. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. Just make sure that everybody's safe. Make sure that those around you are safe. Make sure that you got pets, you got plants, all these kinds of things. Start making your prep right now, because apparently, and I guess this does qualify as the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching live on Twitch this morning. Don't forget to use that QR code. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. For everything at Kickoff Coffee, they in turn take what you invest, and they take 10% and reinvest it into the youth game and youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so this is officially opening kickoff. Yeah, Sean, leaving town ASAP. Don't doubt that for 1 second. That's another programming note we'll get into in just a sec, too. Make sure that you keep an eye on those around you. Make sure that you keep an eye on those who are close to you, those who are a little older than we are, and just keep an eye on them. Make sure that you turn your faucets on. Turn your faucets on. Make sure that you've got water running in your house, because if you do leave, and maybe Sean goes to South Florida and plays a round of golf or something, you come back, the last thing you want is frozen pipes, because you don't want the pipes to burst, and then in 12-degree weather, having plumbers coming by and having to fix things. Vegas, very nice. Okay, all right. You taking your club, Sean? Yeah, these are important questions that we have to ask here. But make sure that you take care of those around you. You take care of yourselves. And very nice. 4 rounds of golf. Not jealous or nothing. Just take care of those around you. Take care of those with you. Take care of your house. Take care of your pets. Take care of your plants. All those kinds of things. Because as I'm sitting here looking at live shots off to my left on the big TV, it's looking pretty bad. And knowing meteorologists as I do, they're saying you're going to get 20-degree temperature drops in like 20 minutes. And the stuff out of Wyoming is pretty wild and pretty scary. So just make sure that when we come back on Monday, on the flip side of Christmas, and we hit Boxing Day and beyond, as we get closer to the beginning of a new year, make sure that everything that is yours is at 100% capacity. And don't forget to make sure that you keep your faucets running too. When we have all of these things going on, and today and tomorrow, it's going to be obviously the standard format where it's just going to be loose, and we're just kind of be talking. By the way, Zach Berly is joining us at the bottom of the hour. Super Draft was yesterday. We'll get into that, and Zach has some inside intel on a draft pick for Atlanta United. Why, you may ask? He's the play-by-play voice of the Campbell Camels. So you got hashtag roll hump. All the great hashtags. We're going to have to ask about that. Hashtag roll humps. Hashtag pro humps, all those kinds of things. So Zach Berly, play-by-play voice of the Campbell Camels, is going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk Super Draft. We'll talk USL League One, too, because Zach's call got goal of the year. So we'll catch up with Zach about all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, biggest thing is that as Elliott is chasing after us, make sure that those around you are at 100% and everything that you're doing is at 100%. So that way when you come back from wherever you will be, well, not, rackets close. I mean, see, but there's no holiday break because of where the day falls. But all right, so we'll go through the traffic now that Rack has brought it up. Here's the traffic. All right, so here's the deal. Today is here in Office HD Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, we are from Ozark, Alabama, and the boss's hometown. So please pray for our internet our internet connectivity. Make sure that that's at 100%. And so that's where we'll be. We'll be in Ozark, Alabama. Friday. That's what tomorrow is. Friday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm still stuck in signing day stuff. A little liquid to start us off here, the Agua Verde. But yeah, so Friday, Monday, Tuesday, we're in Ozark, Alabama, doing the show from there. So doing it from the boss's house back home, and so then we'll be back here in Studio HD, in Office HD, on starting Wednesday, getting you ready for the first of the year and all that kind of stuff. Because remember, Boxing Day is, if I remember my math, Boxing Day is Monday. So we got that to talk about, the return of Prim and Proper, all these kinds of things that are going to be laying out for us. Well, but Sean, if it's Mountain Dew, then, and it is carbonated water. So, I mean, it's, so there you go. But now we'll have a show tomorrow, and it'll be kind of getting you ready for the Christmas holiday. So it'll be kind of a loose construct of a show, mainly Christmas based, and have as many of the guys on as possible just to get you ready for the holiday. We'll talk Christmas gifts and that kind of stuff, and any of the other news that's fit to print as we continue to roll our way forward. But that was so that's your timeline for me, Rack. Holiday break. I mean, the National Signing Day was yesterday, and normally it's the week before that, and so you had to get ready and getting crews together and all those kinds of things. But no, it was completely and totally out of control. So very, very cool stuff. And couple of stories that we came across yesterday. Actually, yeah, Rack. No. Okay, so I have to explain this now too. Yeah, it was an Auburn logo, Rack, because the boss is an Auburn alumna. Her entire family is Auburn, and you can catch up with Ricky Ricardo and Domer, and there is an Auburn contingent here at SDH, but no. I'm not from Alabama, and so Rack says, "Oh man, that was an Auburn logo." So the throwing up, yeah, there, and Michael Head, yes, Michael Head, thank you. No, you said you were from Bama, but now the boss is from Alabama. The boss is born and raised in Alabama, and it's a town about 20 minutes north of Dothan. She went to Auburn. She's a legacy. She and her sister and her entire family went there, whether it was API or Auburn. I am a Florida State alum, so we cross conferenced our marriage. So it's ACC SEC marriage. I don't know if we were both in the same conference, if we could, have a successful marriage. It would be a true test. I would give you the true test of our marriage was when Florida State and Auburn played in the national championship game in the Rose Bowl for the 2014 national title. There you go, Nix. That was leading up to our first anniversary. So we figured if Florida State and Auburn could be playing for a national championship and we could make it through the Rose Bowl national title game with a quitter for me as a head coach and them chasing after a title again in 2014. So if we could survive that national championship game, we could survive anything. And our 10th anniversary is coming up on January 12th. Well, hang on. Well, Sean, if you're going to go there, you got to get you have to get your nicknames correct. So Michael, if you would please, in the Twitch pitch, if you could please sort out Sean with the War Eagle Tiger stuff. Tiger's the nickname, War Eagle's the battle cry, and they are the Auburn Tigers. So and Rack and sister went to Auburn for undergrad. Wow. Okay, that's an interesting crossing of the stream. Sister that went to Auburn for undergrad, then Bama for grad school. That's an interesting pull. And yes, Rack, it does. But I mean, like I said, I mean we're in different conferences, and so I think we're okay. So yeah, I think we're okay being in different conferences. If we were both SEC or both ACC, then it would be a bit of a difference. So Okay, that was the short version. So Michael's deferring to the short version. Yeah, I mean, if there was Sean, if there was some Saban NIL that got it to go, then that was the way it was going to get worked. So Rack says that you thought you're going to get killed wearing an Auburn. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, Rack that has sister that did that. That's very, very brave, and the fact that she survived, very, very cool. But yeah, that's the short version of our marriage and how things are and how we've survived and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so when you watch the show live, for those of you that watch on Twitch, you will see a lot of the time that there will be cups with the Auburn logo, because when we go to home games at Jordan Hare, we buy a lot of these plastic cups, and they're disposable, and Lord knows I know how to destroy these things, or at least overuse them. And so these are the cups that end up that are a part of all of the liquid that we have here in the morning. All right, that's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, go to Kickoff Coffee CO on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow them and be a part of that process there as well. Then use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase for everything at Kickoff Coffee. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvested into the youth game. And very, very cool stuff at kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so and Sean, yes, this is true. Let's be honest. I just do. Hey, look, I will take a picture. Sean says, let's be honest. You just have a large cabinet of college logo cups. That is true. It's not just college logo cups. It's event cups as well. I've got I've got a Gwinnett Gladiators cup from their 10th anniversary that's in that same cabinet. So I'll take a picture of it and I'll post it to my social media of the cabinet of the plastic cups. I will post that photo for everybody here. So right there is everything that you're hunting for when it comes to, yes, everything that I will be drinking from in the morning at my Agua Verde. And we'll go from there. Okay, so Rack has a question once again. We've got Zach Berly joining us bottom of the hour to talk Super Draft, Atlanta United, and Campbell, and some League One. We have some world stuff that we need to be getting into as well. So Rack's question: what does everyone think about the alleged kit leaks? Even as the team is trying to symbolically signal back to Five Stripes greatness. All right, so that's the QOD. All right, so Rack has already. Yeah. Well, you will all end up buying it, but you saw a lot of those kit leaks at MLS UK yesterday. So I know that I will say this: the 65% off sale, I couldn't resist it either. That was had by the main outfitter for a lot of sports teams and clubs and universities and such. I couldn't resist it. Because when you can get a $100 jacket marked down to $30, so yeah, I'll do that. But that's where we're looking right now. So speaking of plastic cups, Emilio says we find that the newer United cups with the black are made much more cheaply than the matted stripe cups pre-2020. Did not know that. Did not know that about cups. But once again, maybe they're more. What's the word I'm looking for? Environmentally correct. They're more in line with the environment. They may not last as long as the standard plastic cups. I did not see the LAFC kit, Sean, or a cup, but you're going to get hits and misses, and we'll see where it goes. Nick says Nick likes it simple. Colors reverse of the OG five-stripe kit better than the last two home kits, in his opinion. Yeah, okay. So Emilio, they do peel. Okay. Environmental, yes, sustainable. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Sean. It's very early in the morning. We're only 15 minutes in. Rack. Glad I'm not the only one that has enough of those cups for a large wedding reception. Oh yeah, no. When we have parties here above Office HD, no, those are easily accessible. We do have the fine china and the fine glassware. Do not get me wrong, but we end up with all of these kinds of things. And it is all across the board. So if somebody wants to have a plastic cup, they can have a plastic cup. Trust me, we are not going to have a shortage of plastic cups. And they go back to old bowl games in the 90s. I mean, those obviously don't get used a whole lot, but that's pretty much. I mean, there's a history of plastic cups attached to old bowl games and things like that. They are all all right. So, all right, we're working our way down this morning. Like I said, we got Zach Berly coming up in 10 minutes. Bart, kit's better than the black kit because it looks like an Atlanta United kit. Thick stripes will look good enough, and I like the added gold trim will look great when I submit selfies to the Atlanta United email account to prove I was at an away game. And Bart, to your point, actually, let me go ahead and keep that up. To your point, Bart, numbers need to be big and counter. I mean, if it's gold numbers with the large stripes as a broadcaster, and I hope that I'm speaking for all broadcasters, we need big numbers and not have them blending into the jerseys so we can't tell who is who. Yes, I know that we can tell who is who by hair and by keeping an eye on them over the last couple of years. There are ways to figure out who is who, but big numbers on the back of a kit, that's the number one thing for a broadcaster. Can I read who has possession? Can I read who's defending well? That's what I'm looking for first and foremost. Can I see can I see the name on the back of the jersey? So that's what I'm looking for here. Sean with the question. How big is Office HD? Sounds like a large Buckhead estate. No, that is incorrect. That is what you see here on the air for those watching live on Twitch is about half of Office HD in and of itself. The way that the house is laid out, it is upper level has bedrooms and office, mid level has the social space, the kitchen, the dining room, the den, and the lower level is the garage, which is on the other side of that wall, and the office here. And the boss calls it a man cave, and I would disagree, because a lot of folks are a lot of folks come down here, and it's a little bit more than that. So this is about half of Office HD. What you don't see is the train track with all the hats. Can't show you live television because I don't want to get in trouble with the network, but there's a fake fireplace going. There's a fake Christmas tree. There's a sofa and a couple more of the bookcases. So it is not quite large Buckhead estate. Trust me. Going through everything, rack, all joking about how we're going to Photoshop our selfies. Nick, same with Braves cups. Newer ones are thinner, not as well made. Way too many. There's no such thing. Sean, interesting how they want a selfie. Emilio, I'd want a V-neck. It's an interesting one. I've never thought of that. Rack, as I tell folks in my professional life, be careful what you ask for in terms of a user-submitted content. The team asks for pictures. So that's no doubt about it. Michael, $175,000 in GAM for a first-round pick, especially at number 7. It seems like good business. I would agree. Considering that you had multiple trade downs, when Charlotte decides that they want to. Now, I do occasionally curate, but so it's I do zoom past sometimes, and yeah, Rack, you got me. But 175. I mean, when you look at the draft yesterday, and you had all of the trading up and down. And so here's, I guess we're kind of drifting into super draft here for 6 minutes before Zach joins us. Round 1, there were 3 rounds yesterday. And Charlotte acquired the number 1 pick from St. Louis via a trade, $400,000 in GAM plus flopping the number 20. Then they picked Hamady Diop, Generation Adidas player from Clemson. Once again, safe. That's if you have your mind on a selection and you want to surrender that much GAM, more power to you. So Charlotte stays close to home, picking somebody from Clemson, and it's a GA. So once again, the cap configurations, the cap friendly notions of picking a Generation Adidas player. Orlando, they trade with DC and end up getting Shakur Muhammad at number 2, the forward from Duke, who's a GA. Colorado, a defender, Moise Bombito, New Hampshire, UNH Generation Adidas. He played Seacoast United and MLS Next, and that was acquired back. Colorado getting the 3 pick was the Mark Anthony K trade back in July. Revs, they reworked it. Picks 4 and 10 and $250,000 in Garber bucks. They get Joshua Bulma out of Maryland, another Generation Adidas pick. Generation Adidas was 6 of the first 7 selections, by the way. JC Ngondo went number 5 to Vancouver. They acquired their pick with a trade from Houston, picks 5 and 13 and $225,000. And then Duncan McGuire went to Orlando at number 6, the forward from Creighton. Got the pick from Chicago in the Chris Mueller deal back in May. Then, and Michael, to your point, is what we were getting to with the amount of Garber bucks that were picked up. You had $400,000 at pick number 1. You had $250,000 at pick number 4, $225,000 at number 5, and then so $175,000 to trade the pick to RSL, so RSL could get Elijah Paul out of the University of Washington once again, another Generation Adidas player. He played MLS Next at RSL. And then it calmed down for 1 pick. Stephen Afrifa from FIU got picked up by Sporting Kansas City at number 8. Owen O'Malley, who played with Vermont in League 2 last year. And then St. Louis acquired the pick from Seattle for $175,000, and then the number 59 pick. And so that $400,000, I mean, it's like St. Louis was ready to trade all day long, and Houston was ready to trade down, and just get out. They were like the New England Patriots. Owen O'Malley, Generation Adidas, goes to St. Louis at number 9. Daniel Mooney from Indiana played St. Louis Scott Gallagher, and that pick for San Jose at number 10. They picked up that trade, picking a trade from New England for $250,000 and 2 picks. Joey Skinner to Nashville at number 11 was a daytime trade with Charlotte. International slots in $500,000. So obviously, Charlotte, they were like, okay, what's in it for you? And so they got $500,000. Man, that's a lot for number 11. Then Aguimang from Rhode Island goes to Charlotte at 12. That was the pick with Colorado. CJ Fodry from San Diego State goes Generation Adidas. And this was a twice traded pick that ended up with Austin. Houston acquired the pick for 5 and 13, and Austin acquires the pick from Houston for 13-27 in GAM. So following along. And then things kind of calmed down. No trades until 20, and that was the part of the Austin deal as well. There was a triple traded pick for Valentin Noel at number 20. Charlotte acquired the pick from Nashville 9 days ago. Then St. Louis acquired the pick from Charlotte when that was the trade for the number 1, and that was the flip-flopping there. And then Valentin Noel, Austin acquires a pick from St. Louis via trade for GAM. And Akpononu, who was one of the guys that we were talking about yesterday out of Bowling Green, stays close to home, and it gets picked up by FC Cincinnati. And you end up with round number 1 wrapping up at 29 selections. And so a lot of trading going on, but Houston kept trading down and down and down and down and down. And in round number 2, this is when Atlanta United first popped in, and they picked up Tyler Young, the midfielder from Campbell. And that was their first pick on the day. And we're going to be getting our intel on Tyler Young and the Campbell Camels. And when our first guest shows up, with Zach Berly coming up in just a little bit. Yeah, well, and that's part of the discussion of, when you have all of this GAM and everything. And let's see. And I know that a lot of you guys are looking at jerseys and things like that. And I'm glad that you guys are also having the conversations about those kinds of things as well. That's what I always like to see with going on in the Twitch pitch. And as promised, when you hear that magical noise, the little beep noise, that means that we have a guest. And so I'm not going to wait. We're in a no dilly, no dally zone here. So we're adding Zach Berly. Well done. Morning, Zach.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
All right. So first off, for those watching on Twitch, they're seeing a very festive environment behind you. There's the tree. Well done. So you got gifts too. Well done. That's a rather large gift. Are you getting somebody a pony? Is that what's going on?
I can't disclose. This is out there, and if I say anything, it'll be found somehow.
Okay, but we understand. So, but since this is, first and foremost, welcome to SDH and Soccer's Morning Show. Glad that that you're wanting to hang out with us to tell good stories about Super Draft and things like that. let's get into Christmas. I mean, we have to kind of get into Christmas here for just a little bit. How big a Christmas guy are you, as evidenced by the large tree behind you and the pony that you're not letting anybody know that is actually a pony?
Yeah, the only hint I can give is it is not of the equine variety this present. But yeah, my family is big on Christmas. My grandparents have got this big, like 12-foot tree they put up in their house every year. So it's a big family, and I'm a 10th generation North Carolinian, so big Southern family. So if any of you are familiar with that, you'll understand where it's like a weekend after Christmas, we get 15, 20, 30, my grandparents' kids, and then you got cousins and first and seconds and thirds, and you don't know how you're related, but you just know you are. So yeah, Christmas is a big part, as are most of the holidays in my family.
All right, so Super Draft and Atlanta United was kind of keeping an eye on the first round, and they were like, "Nah, we're cool," and traded out of round number one for 175,000 in GAM. But then in round number two, and your timing was karmic because we were going through the early part of round number two. Pick number 7, overall pick number 36, is someone that you know a great deal about in Tyler Young, the midfielder from Campbell, and we'll get into the hashtags in just a bit too, because that's stellar. Tyler Young, for those that haven't had the chance to see Tyler play, break down what Tyler Young brings to the table from the time that you saw him there at Campbell.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say you've got a great guy in your hands. Just overall as a person, a really good dude. As far as what he does on the field, he's a creative midfielder. So a lot of the times for Campbell, he would play in the number 10 role and then would distribute out. He can play deeper though in midfield. And then he also would play as a false nine. I don't imagine you'll see much of that at the pro level, but you never know. But yeah, he's a guy who likes to have the ball at his feet, can distribute in the air, but I think really where his passing is on the ground. If you'll go on social media, I'm sure it will be shared today. He had an assist against UNC Greensboro in the game-winning goal. UNCG's only defeat, I think, in the regular season. They lost twice on their way to the Elite Eight. His game-winning assist was a ball probably 25 yards inside channel onto a run being made. I mean, it's just the vision there is really incredible. So I think that's what you're going to see from him is a really good passing range, but also an ability and an eye to pick out players that maybe some other players at that level don't have an eye for.
And you mentioned the off the field stuff, and I know that matters a lot to Atlanta United as well. The kind of individual that is coming to be a part of Atlanta United, what kind of an individual are they getting that's the off the field version of Tyler?
Yeah. So just to give you a bit of background on Campbell, the men's team is relying heavily on internationals. If you look at their final roster for their Big South regular season, regular tournament championship game, of the 11 players, there were 2 Americans. So there are tons of internationals, big name guys coming from big clubs and big academies all across the world. Tyler Young, who is not only an American, but also a North Carolinian, makes it into that team. Now, he was a redshirt freshman in his first season. Coaches sat him down and said, hey, look, just buy in, just work hard this year in your first season. We're going to redshirt you. You're not going to see the field. But next year, we really want you to go for it next year. Well, of course, that next year was the COVID season. So he's having to go through all of this stuff, coming into college, not getting the playing time he thinks, but the coaches say, just trust us. We're going to get you there. And then he does. He shows up big. He's the offensive player of the year 2 times. I mean, that sort of buy-in, and just speaking with the coaches about the process of developing him, sitting him down and saying, you're going to get there. Just trust us. And then he has, throughout the entire process, played the role they've wanted to see him and grown immensely during that. And just speaking with him before games, practices, after championship games, an incredibly humble guy who has never let any of those accolades get to his head. He's just a guy who gets into the field, plugs in, not your loudest dude, but your hardest worker.
Well, but as we all know, it's not necessarily how vocal you are; it's what you do with that voice, and I think that's important as well here because you don't have to be the most bombastic dude. You don't have to to sit there and stand on the mic stand with a hot mic and sit there and go point and point and point and point and point, do this and this. Sometimes it's the quieter guys that when they do speak up, you notice that much more because they are saying something and the importance is amplified in a situation like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a group and a bunch I think that he's going to benefit from having been a part of because it is so international based. He'll get a flavor for that with Atlanta United. Guys from different continents, club backgrounds, playing styles. He's going to fit right in, I think, in that training camp. And when he gets to wherever his final destination is in the club, he is going to find a group that he's going to be very familiar with. And I think that as far as that slotting in from a social standpoint, I don't think I'll have any problem at all because he's a really class guy that knows the inner workings of the international game.
Zach Berly, the play-by-play voice for Campbell Men's Soccer, hanging out with us to talk Tyler Young, to talk about the Super Draft, talk about we're going to get to League One. Trust me, we'll get to League One because you had a call that was way overwhelmed. Tremendous. Tremendous is the word I'm looking for. See, I haven't had my full complement of Mountain Dew yet this morning. So the show is already off the rails about 15 minutes in, and so you're just kind of hopping in with the show off the rails as we're getting here before Christmas. When it comes to his growth, what was it like for you to see the progression of Tyler from his younger undergraduate time and fighting everything that you were talking about and just the perseverance there? What was it like to see his growth as both a player and an individual when you two interacted?
Yeah, so he's a smaller guy, not necessarily in height, but a little bit sprightly compared to maybe some of your big 6'5" center backs that you'll see out there in the collegiate game sometimes. So when I first saw him, it maybe was unassuming is maybe the way I would say it. It's just you can't tell of necessarily how good a player's vision is just by seeing them. You have no idea what they're going to do with the ball just by looking at them. So I hear about this kid who I didn't hear for the preceding season before. I saw him on the roster, but coach didn't say anything about him really. Just told us you'd see him next year. And so when he first comes out, we see him playing some passes, kind of figuring his way into this lineup, that sort of chemistry that he's got to unlock with some of these players. And the good thing for him is that he was surrounded by really good attacking talent. And I think that as they shown, so did he. He kind of rose with the team around him. Whenever he had success, they did, and vice versa. So it was a progression of seeing him dominate in a way that's not the same as your ball-winning midfielder who just shoves people off the ball, but being able to pick up the ball in midfield, which is something that we saw a little bit in this first season as they went on a regular season run. Then the next year, really, whenever they won the regular season, a tournament championship. You saw him just go in midfield. He would pick up the ball and nobody could touch him, just darting around people. He's not your like pacey number 10 that's super fast. I'm not making a comparison here, but just maybe it's somebody that you're familiar with that you've kind of seen similar. But in Miguel Almiron, where he's got speed, he can play a little bit wider, but he's got a really good passing range. He can take a free kick. He's got a bit of a long shot on him as well, and he likes to finish running in towards goal. So he's not your small, low number 10 that it really is pacey and kind of takes it himself. He can pick the ball up and distribute. And I saw over I think it's like 3.5 years he was there, his ability to control a game where, you're looking at some of these big guys in midfield who are tasked with marking him. And then his ability to pivot away from goal, find the pass out wide, because Campbell really likes to use the wings. He would pick the ball up, turn, pitch it out wide. And that level of ability to grab a game by the scruff of the neck and transform it was, I think, the biggest thing from him that I think elevated him above the rest of the players he was on the field with.
Okay, so you mentioned grabbing a game by the scruff of the neck, and I think that's another aspect that I wanted to get into with you, because there are those individuals that will sit there and they want that kind of responsibility. It's like, okay, I understand that there is something going on here, and I think that my team needs me to do X. And with what we're seeing here, it sounds like that there was no worry about, okay, it's time for me to put my team on my back so we all can go forward. Is that a fair assessment, that you got to see that in moments where Campbell needed to have something happening and Tyler was like, okay, guys, come on, follow me?
Well, let me just give you this statistic because I don't think you can describe him any better than this. He scored or assisted in 24 games for Campbell. Campbell never lost when he scored or assisted. Never in 24 games. So, I mean, as a broadcaster, it was easy. He would put one in or he would assist, and I would say, Well, I get Campbell will feel pretty good about where they're at right now. They never lost once. It was 20 wins and 4 draws in 24 games. So I mean that was kind of the measure that he was at once he got going, which was very often. I mean, he was putting him in the back of the net, whether himself or finding someone else, very often. Once they did that, it was almost like the team got this confidence. Now, I'm sure they weren't thinking about that statistic, but still knowing that your guy that is pulling the strings is going, once he's picking out your passes, the team kind of finds this rhythm and starts to hit its stride where they're finding their men out wide, they're getting their crosses in, they've got support on the edge of the box. That final pass into the striker who's making the run was happening, regardless of what happened inside the 18-yard box. It was kind of like the heart. Once it started beating, the whole team lit up, really transformed. And like I said, that statistic is no better way to put it, because he was at the heart of pretty much everything good that was happening for this nationally ranked team, for this team that's won 3 of the last 4 regular season championships in the Big South, 3 of the last 5 tournament championships. He was a part of the latter end of that. So I mean, it wasn't just like he was pitching in for a small mid-major team. I mean, this was a team with a national profile that has players that also got drafted who were on national watch list, a Mac Herman Trophy nominee. I mean, these are a big caliber of player that he was playing with and that he was helping to success.
I'm glad that you're reading my notes this morning for coming into this interview, because that led me into my next question. For those that haven't had the opportunity to see Big South Conference soccer and be as immersed in it as you are, how would you break down the Big South, its place in, we'll take it a couple of different ways, the Southeastern collegiate soccer footprint and then the national soccer footprint? How would you break down the Big South's place and Campbell's place in it with the successes that they've had? And then obviously in turn, we can kind of extrapolate what Tyler was able to do in that framework. But what about the Big South Conference on the whole?
Yeah, so the Big South is a very top-heavy league. So it's Campbell and High Point, or they've won every championship, whether that be regular season or tournament, since 2018. Everyone has been split between those two, the majority of them going to Campbell. So it's one of those where when you go into the regular season, you know it's going to be one of those two, and it's a matter of who's going to slip, who's going to draw on the road against Presbyterian and Clinton, South Carolina, who's going to go on the road and lose to UNC Asheville. It's a, like I said, it varies once you get down below those. You've got some very sprightly teams who are counterattack, but a lot of what the play is in the Big South is physical and a lot of packing back. So those teams that aren't Campbell and High Point typically like to play low blocks. Not all of them, but a lot of times they like to frustrate, especially when they play those two teams. Big on the counter, big on just hucking it forward and hoping they get some good bounces. And then, of course, on the other side of things, that means that a Campbell and a High Point have to spend a lot of time breaking down these teams. So a lot of possession, which is how they like to play, and then a lot of speed to try and break down anything to try and get past these low blocks that these teams would set up. As far as the conference as a whole, it's North Carolina is such a big soccer state with the ACC, and you've got the AAC, and then the CUSA, and UNC Wilmington, UNCG. I mean, there's just so many big programs that are even outside of the Power Five. So Campbell and High Point, I would say, are right in there. Campbell's actually going to the CAA next year, so they'll be in with Elon and UNCW. UNCW is a very good program. They beat UNCG this year, who went to the Elite Eight. So they're all the time playing in that mix of Power Five adjacent, big mid majors. So as a whole, I would say Campbell is right up there at the top of the mid-major programs when you look at them, and year in and year out has success in the conference, because that's kind of the expectation now is you've dominated the conference. You've got to go in and make runs in the NCAA year in, year out.
When you look at the success for Campbell, I mean, this was not the only, and I know we're talking Tyler Young here at 36, but Moses Mensah also got picked up in the draft, and obviously that speaks to what is being built there at Campbell and what Tyler Young and Moses Mensah have been a part of over the last handful of years. 2 players from Campbell getting picked in the Super Draft in the top 75.
Yeah, and I think that Moses, in my opinion, and I'm not the only one who said this. I think if you look at mock drafts, you'll see this too. He was the best outside back in the draft, and if not, he was one of the best outside backs in the draft. I think the biggest thing that hurt him was the fact he's an international. And I know a lot of the times teams don't want to spend international slots on draftee picks. So I got that. So whenever he fell down a little bit further than I think we were expecting, I think it was largely because of that, not necessarily one way. And it's funny because you say, "Oh wow, he was picked in the draft, amazing." We're thinking this guy's a top 15, a top 20 because he just really is that good, an amazing left back. He was the Mac Herman Trophy nominee I was mentioning, a watch list player, best 11. Yeah, the guy was really amazing. So that's what I'm talking about when we say Campbell. You may not have heard of the Fighting Camels from Buies Creek, North Carolina, but it's a caliber and a level that is in the collegiate game, especially on the soccer side, is well respected, well renowned, and has a great pedigree of bringing players in. And that's exampled by Moses Mensah, among others. I think you're going to be hearing more news coming out of the Campbell camp as far as their graduating class and more signees, whether it be in American leagues or otherwise.
Okay, so all right, let me see if I can get the bio quick here on Tyler. So, 2-time Big South Offensive Player of the Year, All South Region honors 2 years in a row, 2-time First Team All Conference, led the league with 9 assists and top 20 nationally. You mentioned the unbeaten in 24, 20-0-4, all-time record with generating at least a point, 7-0-3 in the year in 22. Tied for third in points, tied for sixth in goals. This sounds like a real find at 36. Did it surprise you that he lasted on the board as long as he did?
Well, I wasn't sure what to expect because I think he still has a year of eligibility left. So I know sometimes that teams are going to wait and see, well, let's let him develop another year just to see. So I wasn't sure if he would go at all or if he would go in what round. I knew that regardless of when he left, he was going to have a successful career at whatever level he found himself at. I just wasn't sure when that was going to be. So when I was waiting, I'd watched the first round live, and then the second round started popping in, and I was still waiting for Moses because he's officially graduated, he's done with eligibility. That's the first name I was looking for, and then boom, Atlanta United Tyler Young pops up, and I was just overjoyed for him. Definitely not disappointed by any means that he didn't go higher than he did. I think it's really cool that he's Atlanta United's only pick in the draft because they traded away the first round and the third round as well. So I think that's really cool because you're going to get to focus in on him and really look at him this year because, you know, overall, I don't think I was disappointed at all. Him, if you quote, dropping down, which I don't think he did at all. I think that wherever he was going to be, whether it was this year or next year, it was a good time for him to move. And I think that he's kind of gotten his stock risen at the right time. So if he went this year, I was going to be so happy for him.
Okay. Time to change your gear. So if you want to change into something that says USL League One on it, I didn't know if you could do like the Superman change or you take
the
Campbell jacket off, but you got to spend some time in USL League One looking at that league last season. Let's start off at 30,000 feet. When you got to see what was going on in USL League One and the procession of the league itself, what were some of your big takeaways?
It is a bonkers league. It really is.
You ain't kidding, brother.
We got down. I started off about the midway point and worked my way out through the end of the season. And I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks to go. Statesboro, Georgia, Tormento, Richmond. None of the seeds had been locked up. I think this was like 4 weeks to go. I mean, one all the way through, I think 10. Like maybe one team had been eliminated of the 11. Anybody could finish anywhere. Richmond had a chance to clinch a playoff spot and possibly the regular season. So it was just we were waiting for that to happen, but we weren't sure. And they eventually did get a draw and made it in. But that was, I think, like week 4. That was the first team to go. And then 3 weeks to go, there was 4 spots open, 3 spots open. And then even on the last day, there was still teams that could move into the playoff spot. I think there was one team that could finish anywhere from 7th to 2nd if they had a certain win go their way and they win themselves. So it is a ton of fun to see these guys who are both coming in from overseas and then these college guys who get a chance as well. I think it's an awesome league, especially now that we're getting this really nice concentration with Knoxville coming in. I mean, you're talking about Statesboro, Chattanooga, Greenville, Charlotte, Raleigh. I mean, there's just a really nice area in the Southeast where it's a lot of fun to watch, and it's in drivable distance for your folks in Georgia to get out of some games.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we've kind of our path has kind of mirrored Tormenta's path and what Nitra and Darren Van Tassel are doing. and we've followed each other's journeys from pretty much day one. And you get those natural rivalries from day one in League One, where Greenville and Tormenta, they don't like each other. Greenville, Tormenta, and the Red Wolves, they don't like each other. And so it's a three-way dance. And then you end up, you're adding Charlotte into the mix with the Independents dropping down from championship. And then the Kickers with Terzaghi and their force, and City Stadium, which has really turned into a troublesome venue for away sides. And you mentioned the expansion with Knoxville coming in. I mean, this is basically turning into the Southeastern Conference of soccer when you transfer all this stuff. I mean, you're going to have great markets trading haymakers with each other as this league continues to grow and evolve. And Lexington's coming in a couple of years.
Yep.
So, I mean, you're getting all of this stuff here. When you were calling matches and when you were keeping an eye on League One, who are some of the talented guys that you were sitting there going, man, I can't wait to see this guy at whatever his next stop is? Who are some of the stars that you were looking at?
I think Keziah Sterling with the Tormenta is a really good. I mean, I know that he was a real coup when they picked him up.
Mm-hmm.
They went out and were like, we want this guy. Let's bring him in. And obviously, he was one of the top scorers in the league. Got pipped by Terzaghi, which is no slight to himself. The guy's incredible. So I think that was a huge grab for him, and the sort of level that you're going to see in League One as it just gets better and better, and as that quality continues to filter down the pro ranks. Jonathan Bolaños at Richmond. I don't know if he's still there or not, or whether he's already moved on, but it's going to happen if it already hasn't. He's a guy that used to play in the Big South as well for High Point. He's a really good winger who would play balls in. Christian Chaney, I believe, just moved from Central Valley to Madison, which was a really big move. He's another really good striker. So there was guys all up and down that I saw. A lot of them former college guys, a couple of them internationals. So this is the level, I think, that's the new path. You see MLS Next Pro coming up and that sort of thing. The avenues are getting bigger and bigger for college guys to make their path. If they don't make it into the draft or don't get signed, there's a lot of room. And that's one of my favorite parts about working in League One, is that regardless of where on the roster these guys were, they almost all had this amazing story of how they went undrafted, or they had played down in the semi-pro leagues for a few years and had made their way up and are now first team guys for their respective clubs. So I think that was a lot of fun to see this really grassroots campaign continuing to grow.
And you're seeing it in what I'll go ahead and I'll use air quotes when I do it, the atypical soccer market, because it's Statesboro, Georgia, it's Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Greenville, South Carolina. We mentioned Lexington coming on board. All of these towns that you wouldn't anticipate, for if you're just looking at it at face value and don't do the research that it's just it's Statesboro, it's insert city here. But these towns in USL League One really have wrapped themselves around each of these franchises, and there are times when you will get crowds that are just off the charts in each of these markets as USL League One continues to grow.
Yeah, and I want to say as the league as a whole, the support is amazing. And you'll go to a place like Madison, where I had the pleasure of calling a game, and they've got an amazing ground in an amazing city and amazing support. But I want to hype, because we're talking, soccer down here. I want to hype up the South. I mean, you would think that, these aren't clubs in the Northeast and California where you would maybe expect there to be a larger soccer base. Go to Greenville and tell me that there's a better soccer environment in the country. You may have a bigger one. You may have a louder one because there's more people. But as far as man-for-man passion goes, you're not going to find it. You can even go to other leagues like Asheville. If you ever get a chance to go to Asheville and see their team play, in USL League 2, we're talking about, and they're putting that stuff out. All across the South, you're seeing this. So that was so cool, because there's so many great venues. There's so many great supporters, and I'm so glad, like you said, these atypical markets are getting to show off, because you don't need a million people in your city in order to have a great soccer franchise. You can be a small, quote unquote, small town by comparison and still find this great soccer support, which I think shows the depth and the breadth of the growth of the game in America. Whereas maybe 10 years ago, you wouldn't have seen that. There are soccer lovers in every corner of the United States. And I'm so glad we're finding them no matter where we have to look.
Well, and the conversation that I've had in the past with Darren Van Tassel, it's like, I think that every professional sports league needs a Green Bay. Yeah. And with the Green Bay Packers, it's like, no, the media market, you're, whatever media market you're wrapped up into, you're not a top 50. It's the smallest market in USL League One. But because of what the Van Tassels are doing and the level of investment, what you're seeing with the Irwins and what they're doing in Greenville, what you're seeing with the Martino family and Sean McDaniel and what they're doing in Chattanooga, you have these individuals that understand the level of investment that is needed, and they see the long game, and they're not afraid to sit there and invest and know that it's first team, it's academy, it's USLW, all of these different things in all these different towns. You have a lot of owners that aren't just looking at it from the quick, they're looking at it down the road to grow the game on the whole.
Yeah, and I think they're going about it the right way, because if we're stepping back and not worrying about teams and leagues, we're talking about the overall growth of the game. Because I think that every American wants to see that, both in the women's and the men's side. They want to continue to see us grow. So on the international stage, we're continuing the pace that we're at. And I think that the way that teams are going about it now is the right way, where they're not just, okay, let's build a stadium, let's buy a bunch of guys, bring them in, and let's have fun for a few years until it all fizzles out. They're building it at the ground level. They're getting buy-in from fans, excitements over soccer-specific stadiums, building out their academies, getting buy-in from people around the area, showing that, hey, you can come here, play for a few years, go to college, go to our pro team, and then you can go out and make your name for yourself in MLS or the USL Championship or League One, wherever you end up. There are places for them. And every year, there's probably a crop of 5 to 10 guys that you see follow that path, end up in MLS, possibly get signed overseas. And every time you see another one of those examples, there's another kid somewhere in rural America or somewhere in the inner city that sees that and says, I can do that as well. I'm going to go be a part of this club, or I'm going to go and practice a little bit harder, or I'm going to go and make sure that on this tryout I make it onto the team, because that could be me. And so every single time you see another one of these names pop up, get signed by Celtic, get signed by West Bromwich Albion, gets drafted in the MLS, that is another block in this foundation that starts with these small clubs. Because if there wasn't the buy-in, everyone would be drawn to a big MLS city, and you wouldn't get the same outreach, the same web that's going to catch as much talent as we're getting right now.
Where was your buy-in when you gravitated to soccer? What were those first teams or individuals that were the posters on the wall, or what was it that gravitated you to the sport?
Yeah, so I was not a soccer kid growing up. I was a history nerd. I did not play sports until I was like late in high school. Just wasn't into it. I like to talk. And then they were like, hey, why don't you come and do the lineups for our basketball team? And so that began this very long journey on becoming a sports commentator. So that's just a little bit of background. But growing up, I remember watching the 2012 Champions League semifinals, Chelsea and Barcelona. Didn't know who Chelsea were. I'd heard of Barcelona. I knew who Messi was. There was a game at the Camp Nou, and like I said, I had no idea, but I was like, I'm going to pull for this other team. I don't really know who they are, but I'm going to pull for them. And that was an incredible game with some amazing goals. They beat Barcelona at the Camp Nou. Chelsea, then I was like, I got to watch this next game. So I watched them in the Champions League final when they played Bayern. That game went to penalty kicks, and they won. And I fell in love with Didier Drogba and Chelsea Football Club. So that was kind of the first one. Didier Drogba was number one, and that began this long train of not just getting into European soccer, but then transferring over to the United States, where my family always used to go down to Florida for vacations. We always went like the last week of February, first week of March. We always ended up there accidentally during the first week of MLS play. So we were there for the first ever game in Orlando City history. Sorry to say that on this podcast. I went to 4 or 5 season openers down there, including their first ever game at the new stadium. So that kind of was just by accident kind of winding up down there. That's what got me into MLS, which I think is kind of like the gateway drug for soccer as a whole. It just kind of became, wait, there's more of it, there's more of it, there's more of it. So you can never stop consuming once you're in. It's a bug you got.
So does Pulisic go out on loan?
We'll see. Graham Potter, I think, still has maybe a month or so, maybe January, to figure it out and see what he's going to do. Honestly, when he came, I was so excited because, like I said, first of all, there's so many griefers out there that hate Chelsea that are going to have to watch them now. And there's also going to be so many kids that are going to buy jerseys. Honestly, I'm kind of tired of it now, because you just get on Twitter and all you see is just, he has to leave, it's terrible. And it's like, it really doesn't matter how well or how bad they do. They were always going to dislike Chelsea. So whatever happens with it, I hope it's the best for Christian. Honestly, if he leaves now, at least I won't have to hear from the soccer heads on Twitter anymore.
There you go. Jason Nix, who's part of our Twitch pitch, he says the only acceptable reason for attending a purple team match is by accident.
Hey, you'll find this interesting. I have been in-house for 2 of Atlanta's 3 trophies. Both times was in the away end, though. I was at the 2018 MLS Cup. I have some family in Portland, so I drove down and got to sit up in the away end for
Okay.
the MLS Cup. That
Yeah.
was amazing. I was there for the Red Bulls game in the semifinals with all of the when they held up like all of the different colored stripes, and I was there for U.S. Open Cup final as well when they played Minnesota United. I got some family there as well, so that's my quick journey down. I got Charlotte now, but that's my quick journey down whenever there's a trophy game going on. So feel good about that.
All right, so let me see if I can point it out correctly. Right here, edge of the office, there's your League One championship game scarf from this year. That is always a part of the dynamic. Hit the promo for those that want to keep an eye on you on social media and what you're up to and when you're calling stuff on League One. How do they do it?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter, Berly, Zberly. All kinds of stuff on there in soccer, all up and down. Great stuff at the coverage at the collegiate level, and tons of pro stuff as well as I continue my journey up.
And we'll be keeping an eye. And Zach, first off, I'm glad that Bart Keeler was able to connect the two of us, especially with the Super Draft, and we were able to take the Super Draft conversation, talk about the two of the best hashtags that I've seen in recent history: the roll humps and the pro humps. Hashtag roll humps, hashtag pro humps with the Campbell Camels. Zach Berly, play-by-play voice for Campbell and a bunch of other stuff. Thanks for hanging out with us here on SDH on Soccer's Morning Show. We'll be keeping an eye. Enjoy your Christmas, and I hope that is truly not a pony behind you on the rather large gift of the Christmas tree.
Thank you. Thanks to Bart. Thanks to all that you guys do. You're doing amazing stuff for the world of soccer.
Thanks.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Zach Berly. And that's Zach hanging on with us. And yes, the definitely I'm glad that Bart, you get major kudos and a tip of the hat if I was wearing a hat for the connection to make sure that we could get the 411 on the first draft pick for Atlanta United, Tyler Young, in the Super Draft yesterday with all of the trades. And so it was good to be able to catch up with Zach and find out what's going on with the 36th pick overall from your Campbell Camels. And so with that, since it is now officially hour number 2 of the show, that means one thing. And so that means I've got to go and find the music, turn the music down a great deal, and read a promo. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place that you need to go, it's the Lemonized Service. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, the Lemonized Service has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonized Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. The turnkey process makes it easy to work with good realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment we like that these days. Offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever, different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard, we grab that masking agent and spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because that's all it does. It masks the odor. It does not attack the issue all the way down to the molecule, like our friends at Lemonized do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy. Buy either cubic feet or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. Any questions that you may have, frequently asked or otherwise, go to the website. And this is where I grab my pen. It's lemonize.com, but do us a favor. After the .com, go /Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from. Go into sentence and a preposition. They can help you with your issues. For the full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, lemonize.com /Atlanta. The Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH for odor-free, clean, fresh air. The Lemonize Service, before you go. And that's your promo. There's no such thing as a slight fade. It always comes across as very, very stilted, and when you're sliding on a toggle switch, it just gets kind of messy. And so, yeah. So there you go. But no doubt about it. Great that Zach Berly could come on and join us in hour number 1 to break things down there at Campbell and give you a bit of some intel on Big South Conference soccer and the 36th pick overall. All right. So we are looking at things all across the world, and it looks like Lionel Messi is going to be sticking with PSG. Please tell me that that's not necessarily a surprise. It looks like they're trying to get him to a 1+1. They had him to a +1, and they're trying to see if they can get him to the 1+1 and hang out for another 2 years. So That's what you're looking at there. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo this morning, and we can get into that with players. And there's some other news that's going on overseas as well. We'll be getting into that. Agreed to the 1-year contract extension with PSG. It's going to keep him there until the summer of 2024. And that's from Le Parisien and others. PSG is not going to let Kylian Mbappe leave in January and only sell him in the summer for the right price. Diego Simeone has fueled talk that Joao Felix is up for sale by saying, quote, "No one is indispensable," end quote, at the club. Arsenal wanted Argentina defender Alessandro Martinez in the summer, but the 24-year-old opted instead to reunite with Ajax boss Erik ten Hag at Manchester United. That's from our friends at the Manchester Evening News. Chelsea have reached an agreement worth £17.5 million with Vasco da Gama to sign 18-year-old Brazilian midfielder Andre Santos. That is from our friends at Globo. Tottenham are leading the race to sign 27-year-old Juve and France midfielder Adrien Rabiot. That's from Corriere dello Sport. Manchester United are interested in signing Emi Martinez, who played a key role in helping Argentina win the World Cup. Yes, that is the understatement. That sounds like something very, very understated from our friends at the BBC. He was a key role in helping Argentina win the World Cup. Yeah, no joke. Al Nassr's offer of a £160 million contract to Cristiano Ronaldo is being backed by the Saudi Arabia government. That's from our friends. That's from our friend Ben Jacobs at CBS Sports Soccer via our friends at The Express. Keep an eye on that. It was 3 years at 225 was the number that was posted. A lot of that is sponsor related, but we'll see if this is this 3 for 160. Is it 2 for 160? Is it how many years? So that's what we're looking at for CR37. So right now it looks like it's Al Nassr and 160 million pounds, but it's being backed by the Saudi Arabia government. Eintracht Frankfurt, and I forgot to wear my Eintracht Frankfurt stuff. Eintracht Frankfurt have claimed that they were offered the chance to sign CR37 by Manchester United before he left Old Trafford. That's from our friends at DAZN. Barca's Xavi has convinced his captain Sergi Busquets to remain at the club until the summer rather than push through a move to MLS in the January transfer window. Rafinha, who made 5 appearances for Brazil in the World Tournament, has been tipped for a possible return to the Premier League as he has failed to make an impact in his first season at Barcelona. That's from our friends at Sport. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta says the transfer window is an option as he looks at ways to covering the loss of Gabriel Jesus to a knee injury. And we mentioned this yesterday, and if you forgot, if you weren't with us yesterday or forgot, Memo Ochoa is to land in Italy today before being unveiled as a Salernitana player. It's from our friend Fabrizio Romano. Memo Ochoa and Salernitana, 2 things that you did not anticipate in the same sentence. I know. Yeah, Nix, I know. Nix was told in all caps he could see Messi this year in Major League Soccer. Yes, Beckham lies. So I think it was Fabrizio Romano that said it was a discussion. It really wasn't anything that went into any kind of depth, but it was kind of something that was part of like on this list, you know. It's like, okay, so what about Messi? Sure, yeah, we'll talk about it. So it was something that was discussed, not necessarily laid itself out for a full option. So it looks like 1+1 for Messi, and then does he go home? Does he go home to Argentina to wrap up his career? Or does he just ride off into the sunset? And you want to prepare for another Copa America, then you have another cycle there, and then you go home. So maybe we'll see what happens with Lionel Messi as the things continue there. But yeah, he's going to be sticking at PSG for a while. And yes, I know lies, damned lies, and statistics. That's where we are with all of this stuff here as we get ready for the January transfer window. Some other news: Brentford. And this is in the Premier League because we're getting closer to Boxing Day and the return of Prem and Proper here on the network. It appears that Brentford is lining up striker options in the January transfer window in case Ivan Toney is hit with a ban. Remember, Ivan Toney was originally charged with 232 alleged breaches of FA betting rules back in November, and a further 30 breaches were alleged to have taken place between March 2017 and February 2019. And so Brentford are looking at their options. And this is from Lyle Thomas and our friends at Sky. You have all of those. Brentford is doing their due diligence on potential targets for next month. Options expected to be limited for Director of Football Phil Giles and his technical director Lee Dykes due to the specific set of requirements they need in these unique circumstances. Premier League experience, got to know what they're doing, hitting the ground running, and the goals necessary to maintain Brentford's good form or at least secure top flight status. They don't know whether or for how long Tony could be banned, so convincing a player that meets that criteria to come and hang out could be a bit of a challenge. Clubs reluctant to go with good players, even those who would be on their benches because they never know when they might be needed. Brentford don't pay big bucks, so they may need the assistance of a parent club if a loan is the most viable route. But they have shown, and this is from Lyle saying that to Brentford showing through the summer signing of Ben Mee that they're covering the market for experienced players that can help the team. You're looking for one or two potential solutions. Long-term, they've been assessing forward players and center backs. They tried to sign Mikhailo Mudryk from Shakhtar Donetsk, but his valuation is roughly like $60 million, so there's no way that Brentford could probably pay that. Tony is cooperating with the FA and is going to continue to play for Brentford until told otherwise. Tuesday evening, an FA spokesperson said Ivan Toney has been charged with misconduct in relation to alleged breaches of the FA's betting rules, and he now has until Wednesday, the 4th of January, to provide a response. And so this comes from one of the best Twitter handles out there, at FA spokesperson. Literally, that is the Twitter account, at FA spokesperson. And then Brentford came in return. FA have informed Brentford that Ivan Toney's been charged in relation to additional alleged breaches of their betting rules. Private discussions continue with Ivan and his legal reps as the matter continues. Make no further comment at this time. And they're in the process of going through each betting offense that he's alleged to have made. And so literally you're having to sit there and go through about 260 different betting elements and figure out what's going on. And it is case-by-case basis. So the FA is sitting there, and they're going 260 individual instances with Ivan Toney and alleged betting breaches. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And so they're going to look at it. Sky understands that he's facing a ban of at least 6 months if he's found to have bet on his own team. Also understood the probe into the alleged offenses has been ongoing for more than 7 months. And then, remember, all this came to pass in November when it all started. Okay, so Pete Rose. Badger is asking about Pete Rose in terms of betting amount and frequency. So let's see if we can hit the Google machine and come up with the sheer numbers of what it was with Pete Rose, the numbers. Because the one thing that I do remember, and I'm one of those guys that when the report came out, and I probably still have it. I probably still have the floppy disk. Yes, I said floppy disk, where I downloaded the entire report so I could read it. And so let's see if we can come up with everything here. Okay, so article from 2014. Let's see if we can figure out where we are here. Took over as player manager for the Reds in '84. Part of 6 seasons as Reds manager. Started betting on the Reds and doing so on a regular basis, according to what he said back in 2007. Bet on my team to win every night because I love my team, believe my team, I believe in my power every night to win the game. 15 years, he denied the allegations against him until he released his autobiography in '04. February 21st, '89, Rose was called in to meet Peter Uberoth, well known to be a gambler, but suspicions had cropped up he was betting on baseball. And he was not a good gambler. I mean, he was a break-even guy at best. April 1st, IRS seizes betting slips with Rose's name writing and fingerprints on them. Following day, it was reported he was betting $8,000 to $10,000 a day on baseball. And this is the other thing. We don't know the amount of money that Ivan Toney allegedly has been betting in these breaches with the FA. That's one thing that we do not know. A month later, League announced it was launching the full investigation. The Dowd report, 225 pages, a full breakdown of his gambling activities, day-by-day account of his 1987 betting that included 52 Reds games, so almost 1/3 of the schedule in 1987, was on the Reds. Just as the document Rose accepted he was being banned, Major League Baseball made no formal findings in a case against him, allowed to appeal after a year. 5-month prison sentence in 1990, falsifying tax returns. So, you're looking at basically 1/3 of the games in the 87 season that were there. Now, let's see if the Philadelphia Inquirer will cooperate with any kind of a. No, of course it won't, because I'm not a subscriber. But let's just say for the moment that it was 1/3 of the entire baseball schedule in that one season that he was attached to, $8,000 to $10,000 a day. So if we extrapolate, let's just say 50, let's say 52. So you're talking somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 in a year, allegedly attached to Pete Rose. Like I said, this is an extrapolation. And like I said, Emilio, he wasn't even very good. I mean, literally, he was, when it came to wins and losses, he was like a break-even kind of guy. I mean, literally, he was a 500 gambler, which means basically you ain't winning nothing, you ain't losing nothing. You're basically back to where you started from with Pete Rose. So bets on 50-plus games, 8,000 to 10,000 a day, so low end $400,000. We don't know the number. Yeah, the team wasn't good. And so you're talking, like I said, we don't know the Ivan Toney numbers, but 1/3 of the schedule in that one season when he was manager, Pete Rose, and there you go. So, but then you compare it to 262 alleged breaches for Ivan Toney, and it just depends on how much money was there. And remember, a lot of this in his early time was when Ivan Toney was playing in the lower division. So it might not have been a whole lot of money that was invested in these alleged breaches, but it's 262 alleged breaches that they have to sit there and look at each and every one. And so the FA is looking at each and every single breach or alleged breach that they're chasing and going at it from there. Other transfer news. Chelsea completed a deal for Molde striker David Datro Fofana. We've been talking about that one. That was according to Fabrizio Romano earlier this morning. He's been with the Norwegian club since last year. Reported Fofana, and this is, like I said, from Fabrizio Romano, that he'll join Chelsea for a €12 million fee. Fabrizio said, here we go. So agreed to in both parties. Leeds boss Jesse Marsh on the January transfer window. He said, obviously, we're being active. Victor and Andre are hard at work behind the scenes, but I want to avoid talking about it because it becomes a lightning rod. Everybody wants to draw attention to that. I need to keep our attention on our group and progress. You're going to hear more. I'm not talking about it this time than last time. So Jesse Marsh is already laying everything out for the January window of, I'm not going to talk about it. Maybe he just needs to hit like a recorded thing that he just kind of plays for the media. I'm not going to talk about it. Potential departure of Matthias Klick in January. Remember, DC United is looking at possibly bringing Klick in. Quote, there's been an inquiry from Matthias, but from all sides, we're still cautious about thinking it might be time for him to leave. He's still been really important here, played the 5th most matches since I've been here, 25 games from 28. One of my favorite personalities of anyone I've ever coached. We have a really good relationship. We've been open with each other in all these moments along the way. He's a guy I still like very much and think is a big part of the team. Watford have also announced the appointment of Ben Manga as their new technical director. Poland has decided not to renew Czesław Michniewicz's contract with the country's FA. And so they had several meetings with their president, Cezary Kuleja, and other officials to review Poland's performance at the tournament. And they lost 3-1 to eventual runners-up France in the first knockout round. And the country's FA said in a statement, after a thorough analysis of all the information, PZPN decided not to extend Michniewicz's contract, which expires at the end of the year. The ex-Legia Warsaw boss, he was appointed after he parted ways in January with Portugal's Paulo Sousa, who was asked to be relieved of his duties December 2021 after less than a year in charge. Knicks, Leicester City would love to make a move for Angers and Morocco midfielder Azzedine Ounahi if their transfer budget will allow it, but his £39 million price tag and their interest in also signing Sassuolo's Jeremy Boga could make that tough, according to the 4-letter newspaper. So take the information at your own peril. Daily Express reports Liverpool are serious in their attempts to sign Sofian Amrabat, as pretty much everyone should be. Newcastle hoping to sign Ivan Fresneda from Real Valladolid, but the fee may have to pay is double what they value him, according to the three-letter newspaper, so take the information at your own peril. And there's also a possible selection headache for Manchester United as they're in the middle of a defensive injury crisis. Also on the board, when it comes to papers and things, Barcelona sporting director Jordi Cruyff now says that Frenkie de Jong is one of the club's untouchables ahead of the January transfer window. Three-letter paper says Thomas Tuchel has left the UK and is, according to reports in Germany, upping his knowledge of Spanish in preparation for taking on his next role. Three-letter paper also is saying that Real Madrid are ready to spend almost £1 billion to bring Mbappe to the club from PSG. The total includes the transfer fee of £132 million and more than £500 million in wages. Sepp Blatter has criticized Gianni Infantino's plans to reform the Club World Cup and expand the World Cup to 48 teams. That's from the four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. And once again, remember that it is also Sepp Blatter trying to lob water balloons from the back row of the theater. FIFA appeared to take a jab at Cristiano Ronaldo after Lionel Messi's recent World Cup triumph before deleting the tweet in question. Argentina could put Lionel Messi on one of their banknotes as a part of plans to celebrate his first World Cup success. That's from the three-letter paper. Brazil set to make the unprecedented move of paying homage to Messi after the superstar captained their bitter rivals, and that's from the Daily Mirror. Four-letter paper is also saying Luis Suarez will reportedly make a decision this week on where he goes in the next in the latest installment of his club career. Will decide between Cruz Azul or Gremio. Once again, that's from the four-letter paper. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Three-letter paper is also saying Spurs are interested in signing Pedro Porro. Four-letter paper says that Christian Romero's father, Victor, has claimed Spurs want the defender to return to the club as soon as possible after Argentina's World Cup triumph. Four-letter paper is also saying Arsenal and Spurs are both showing interest in Brighton midfielder Alexis McAllister, but appear to be prioritizing positions other than the midfield, which could leave Atletico Madrid in pole position to make their move. Spurs have been warned that they could derail the UK's bid for Euro 2028 if they agree to a stadium sponsorship deal with Google or another company, which will not allow them to take their name off during the tournament. It's from our friends at the Times. Arsenal will attempt to sign Yuri Tielemans on a free, when his Leicester contract expires in June, according to reports in the three-letter paper. Times reports that Arsenal may have to sign the other forward, and also, once again, the reminder of Alexis McAllister. Edouard Mendy snubbed a 6-year contract offer from Chelsea because they're not showing him enough respect over wages, according to the three-letter paper. Four-letter paper reports Chelsea are close to signing a deal worth around $18 million for Andre Santos. Mentioned that one already. And it looks like Vasco da Gama will receive 70% of the sell-on fee. And so Fabrizio Romano is referring to Santos as here we go soon. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And Evening Standard's Nizar Kinsella discusses Chelsea's appointment of Christopher Vivell as their new technical director. They're building a transfer committee for everyone inbound and outbound. Alan St. Maximin has said he's told his club to sign his close friend Marcus Thuram. St. Maximin knows the Borussia Mönchengladbach and French international forward well, and the striker will see his Gladbach contract expire in June. Pascal Strauch has extended his contract at Leeds through the summer of 2027, 77 first-team appearances during his time at Ellen Road, 3 goals. Also on the board this morning, the Premier League admits that they have 6 VAR calls that were incorrect interventions. 42 of 48 were correct. 6 were incorrect. So let's run down the ones that were incorrect. One of them was Gabriel Martinelli's disallowed goal in Arsenal's defeat in Manchester United in September. Arsenal were denied the 12th minute opener by VAR after referee Paul Tierney used the pitch side monitor to disallow the goal for a foul on Christian Eriksen by Martin Odegaard in the build-up to the goal. As a higher threshold approach, the independent panel also concluded there had been 6 missed VAR interventions from the wider pool of decision-making during the first 16 match rounds, 160 matches. It is hoped that fewer mistakes will be made with the arrival of Howard Webb, who started his role as chief refereeing officer at the PGMOL and is set to meet key personnel at the Premier League and EFL clubs in the new year. Webb refereed the World Cup final and was over here with VAR and its implementation with MLS. And so the Premier League has also asked football lawmakers if they can take part in a trial which would see temporary concussions substitutions used from the start of next season. Joint application from the Premier League and MLS and Ligue 1 has been launched through FIFPro and IFAB. Medics at all 20 Premier League clubs have been consulted during the past 4 to 6 weeks over current concussion protocols in the place of the top flight, where a head injury assessment is carried out on the pitch. PL medics are in favor of implementing temporary concussion substitutes where a player with a suspected concussion will leave the field of play to be assessed in private area, temporarily replaced. If that player passed the head injury assessment, they'd be allowed back onto the field. If the player in question fails, the change will become a permanent concussion substitute. Several instances involved Nico Williams in Wales in a fixture last month. And in the Premier League, you're looking at Aston Villa's Emi Martinez before he was being forced off after originally attempting to play following a head injury. So we've got all of that stuff. And as much of a proponent as we have been here with head injury assessments and things like that. No, and Michael, you're not the only one. You're not the only one who was not impressed with Webb's time at Pro. Not a bit. Why not go ahead and do it now? You still got, go ahead and just, if it's something in the schedule, then, I would think that head injury assessments would not, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this here. The schedule should not dictate when you worry about head injury assessments. If it's something that's there, go ahead and do it. Just, well, we've already started play. Okay, fine. What's more important, head injury assessments or the fact that, you've got games coming up on Wednesday or Thursday or whenever? It just, look, you've got something. You want to go ahead and do the temporary concussion sub? Go ahead and do it. Lay it all out there. And, all right, look, here's the deal. Temporary concussion sub, permanent concussion sub. Lay it out there. You're cool and you're fine. I don't know what the holdup should be. Oh, we'll do it at the beginning of next season. No, if head injury assessments are that important to you, beginning of next season's too late. I know Boxing Day is coming up in 4 days, whatever. You still have plenty of time. You still have the back end of the schedule. You have the second half of your schedules in all of your leagues. And if it's that important to you, go ahead and do it. I don't think the clubs will mind if it takes, a couple of weeks to roll it out to where all the physicians are in place or what have you. Go ahead and start that process now. So when it's good to go, it's good to go. Instead of, we'll do it at the beginning. We'll try it at the beginning of next season. No, if head injury assessment and concussion protocol is that important to you, go ahead and start the process now. Like I said, I don't know what the holdup is. If it's something bureaucratic, then it's disappointing to hear that it's something bureaucratic that's holding us up. We're being held up because it's going to take a while to get everything in place. If it matters to you, do it. Schedule be damned. Yeah, and if Badger, I get that. If they want to make sure it was fair, make sure all the teams have the same number of games played if they can. Yeah, and that's, you try to come up with match weeks, and I know that we've had some things, and you're going to get into FA Cup and things like that, and teams, you're going to get close. I think that because of all the different tournaments, and we got into that discussion early in the week, you're going to get close. I think if you can get close, if you want to say by the end of the transfer window, say, we want to get everything in place by February 1st. So the run-in is fine. Work on that. Don't sit there and say, we need, we can't, it's going to have to be like July or August. That's 8 months. 8 months in a calendar. Last time I checked, to get from January to August, you're turning pages. You're turning multiple pages in a calendar. That's 8 pages on a calendar. To me, that's 7 pages. That's 8 pages too many. Really, it's 9 pages too many. But turning pages on a calendar, If you're ready by February 1st, be ready by February 1st. And you're going to get close to equality when it comes to matches played. But do it. If head injury assessment is that important to you, then do it. bureaucracy be damned. I would think that player welfare and welfare of human beings is slightly more important. But that's just me in this case. Also this morning, we've got a lot of things that, like I said, we're getting ready for what's the word I'm looking for? We're getting ready for Boxing Day. We actually had some Carabao Cup and FA Cup stuff that happened yesterday. And apparently, as we're getting ready for Boxing Day, Jack Wilkinson at Sky, Manchester United dedicated 81 words to CR37 in their program following his exit from Manchester United. It was in the Carabao Cup quarters in the program where they beat Burnley first time through. And so there was a brief reference in an 81-word paragraph within the Worth Knowing feature, pages 6 and 7, Mark Ronaldo's departure. So it read, here's your 81 words. And the fact that somebody counted it's pretty funny. Cristiano Ronaldo has left the club by mutual agreement last month. The Portuguese superstar scored, whatever. And so it just listed all of his accolades. In a statement on November 22, the club put on record its gratitude for Cristiano's immense contribution and wished him and his family well for the future, end quote. So there you go. 81 words. Congratulations. CR37 is out the door. And, so you got that. You got that to look at. And John Nason is stuck in a team trying to find a venue because they get kicked out of it. His Coventry City have basically been kicked out of their venue because of Mike Ashley, who now owns the venue, is like, nah, you guys got to find a new home or agree to our rent deal. And Coventry City, this is lower division stuff. Coventry City been handed a 5-point suspended deduction by the EFL after they were forced to call off a number of games earlier this season. Admitted a charge of breaching EFL regulations on pitch condition, which saw 3 games in August called off against Rotherham, Wigan, and Huddersfield. They paid compensation to all 3. Coventry Building Society Arena has been used as a base for the Rugby Sevens tourney during the Commonwealth Games, left unplayable as a result, and they've continued to do well, knocking off West Brom on a win streak to go 8th in the standings, game in hand, with those playoff positions. So you've got that. Don't leave your stadium grass unplayable for games. Did we talk yesterday how you can still win a championship and still be second? Argentina climbed 1 place. It went from 3rd to 2nd. You win a tournament and you climb from 3 to 2. Brazil's still number 1. Tell me how that goes down. How did that happen? So France rises to 3rd, leapfrogs Belgium, who failed to make the knockout stage. So Belgium doesn't make the knockouts, and they're still 4th. Morocco's 11th, climbing 11 spots. Croatia, 7th behind England and the Netherlands. So tell me how, and I know the answer. I admit that it's somewhat that it's because of how you lay things out. But you end up with winning a tournament and you're 7th. You win a tournament and you're 2nd. Tell me how. I don't know what you've got to do. So, I don't know what you got to do. And I don't know if you guys have been looking at all of the don't trust UPI or FIFA. Right there with you, Badger. But when you win a tournament and you're still not number 1, I still don't know how that doesn't happen for a triple negative. So once again, I think that's all that we need to say about that kind of a thing, is that there's always going to be some kind of politics in play. Dates came out with Atlanta United. Folks are going to report to camp on January 6th. First day of training is January 8th. The match in Chattanooga is 3 weeks later. First matches are February 25th. And 4 of the first 6 are at home. So there's a chance to get off to a good start. Yeah, the World Cup is a tournament. Yeah, exactly. It's a tournament. Well, the way that the way that I'm phrasing it is that, and I don't know, I did not reference it is the tournament to determine the world's best. That is how I phrase it. Yeah, it is the tournament. It is the tournament. But I did not reference the home nation on purpose. And I also don't want to get in trouble with that particular governing body by mentioning those two words together, because you never know when they can sit there and go, "Oh, you didn't get, yeah, you said the wrong things." And so, yes, it is the tournament to determine the world's best. That's how I've said things when it comes to this tournament. Did you guys see? And it's another couple of things, and let me know what else is on your mind before we go. Did you guys see? This was very, very cool. This is comes from Paul Watson on Twitter. And in San Marino, I know that we kind of joke on San Marino a lot, especially in European competition, where the running gag is, will San Marino actually score a goal when it comes to European competition or any kind of competition whatsoever? Very, very cool thing that they're doing. From today until the end of 2023, and this comes from Paul Watson's Twitter account, Paul_C_Watson. Every newborn in San Marino will be given a tiny San Marino national football shirt. Very sweet gesture aimed at inspiring a new generation of fans for the micronation. And so Sligo Rovers apparently does the same thing. But and so it's very, very cool that San Marino, who really is they are toward the tail end of the FIFA rankings. I want to say they're like 207 or something like that. And a very, very cool thing that they are doing for the remainder of the year for all the newborns there in the Principality. Very, very cool stuff from our friends there as well. But right now, tomorrow, let me go through traffic and juice boxes and viewing habits and things like that before we go. So once again, reminder, tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday will not be in Office HD. The boss and the Rowdy Pup and I are heading south. Very well done, Nick. Nicely done. Booking for Chattanooga and Charlotte. That's a good stuff. We're all heading south to catch up with the boss's mom and celebrate Christmas down there. Tomorrow will be kind of a Christmas show. Yes, there'll be news to talk about and things like that, but we'll talk a lot of Christmas tomorrow, since that'll be the last day before the holiday happens. Then on Boxing Day, we're back to normal. So Friday, Monday, Tuesday in Ozark, Alabama. And so pray for the Wi-Fi in the house. I'm taking like my brick, and I'm taking every piece of reinforcement humanly possible to see if I can come up with a signal that will be out of South Alabama. And so we'll be doing the show from there on Friday. Try to catch up with Nico to do Thursdays with Nico on a Friday, and we'll post that to the network on Friday. Saturday and Sunday, obviously, spend time with your families. Monday, Tuesday, we're back to normal. Sure, Badger. I don't see why we can't. Because with you and Abby, I think where are we? Day 4, I believe. Day 4, day 5, when it comes to Hanukkah. But so Friday, Monday, Tuesday are going to be in South Alabama. Then we're back here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, getting you ready for the new year. And it's pretty much just going to be normal. Just biggest thing is just to make sure that everyone stays warm, that you keep your pipes, that you make sure that you keep all the water in your pipes flowing, all that kind of stuff. Halfway home. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought we were at 4. And like I said, we're just going to keep right on going. We've got, for those of you that missed it, yesterday we caught up with one of the new teams in the NPSL, Lucas Mendez, the new owner of the Virginia Dream in Arlington, Virginia. And that is up on the network later today. In about an hour, we're going to catch up with the new owners of another one of the franchises in the NPSL out of West Texas, and it's returning to Midland. So we've got West Texas FC, and they are going to be in Midland, Texas in 2023. So we're going to catch up with the folks in charge there with West Texas FC. And remember the Midland Odessa Sockers with their runs that they've had winning the conference championship in years past. So everything is coming back to Midland Odessa, and we're going to catch up with the folks that are running West Texas FC, and that'll be up later today on the network as well. as the NPSL gets ready for 2023. So we'll be able to catch up. Oh, well, I mean, Festivus, sure. I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you want, okay, so we could do this tomorrow. How about this? If you want a Festivus feature, then it has to be both feats of strength and airing of grievances. Airing of grievances is the easy one. But what you've got to do is you've got to have a feat of strength, and you have to post it to the timeline. You have to post it to the timeline. You got to show a link. Like if there's a feat of strength, we need proof. If there's feats of strength, we need proof. Airing of grievances is easy. We need feats of strength to go with it. So find a way to post it. Find a way to post your feat of strength in addition to airing of grievances. I just don't know how many days of Festivus there are, so it might just be stuck with the Friday show. So airing of grievances and feats of strength both have to be posted. We can't just do negative things around here all the time. So it's got to be positives and negatives, plus what you're grateful for when we come into the holiday season as well. So we'll do a lot of I know you got grievances, Nick. I know that you do. But once again, we're trying to balance. We want balance during the holiday season. We want both. If you're going to have grievances, we've got to show the good. All right? We got to do both the good and the bad. So that's what we're staring at tomorrow as a part and parcel to everything. You might have to remind me about this idea that we have. So airing of grievances, feats of strength, but it's got to be good and bad. We're going to do the good and the bad tomorrow because we don't want a negative vibe. No, I know. Yeah, I know you have, Badger, that you've already aired 2 seasons of grievances. Yes, absolutely. I know you have. And you ain't the only one. Okay, so the Soccer for Good OG is compiling her grievances now. But once again, remember, much like Thanksgiving and being thankful for things, let's do both good and bad. What are we blessed about? What are we blessed for? Plus, if there's going to be grievances and feats of strength, this has to be a balanced effort. There are no black clouds hanging on this show. No black clouds that are going to be hanging over shows by the time we get off the air. So we'll do that tomorrow, leading into Christmas and Christmas gifts and soccer gifts and those kinds of things, and best soccer gift you ever got, that kind of stuff. We'll do a lot of that tomorrow for the Friday show. Let's get into the viewing for today. So today's matches started bright and early. Let's see if there's anything going on so far in this hemisphere. Right now, it's still very much Eastern Europe, Eastern Africa. You've got some friendlies. Champions League Women at 12:45. You can watch that free on YouTube. Roma, big favorite at a -357 against Slavia Prague. And Wolfsburg, a huge favorite, obviously, against St. Polten, north of -3,300. Copa del Rey is going on at 1 o'clock with, let's see, Celta de Vigo, Burgos, Girona, Racing Santander, and Linares is probably your Eldense and Burgos is your most even matchup. Racing Santander is a slight favorite. Girona is a big favorite at Casareno. Then Celta de Vigo is a huge favorite at Guernica. Turkish Cup is going on as well. Galatasaray is at 1 o'clock. You got a couple of friendlies going on. EFL Cup at 3 o'clock. Manchester City and Liverpool. Manchester City is a -139. So obviously we're going to be keeping an eye on the EFL Cup at 3 o'clock. Champions League Women also at 3. Chelsea's a -103 hosting PSG. Real Madrid, obviously, a large favorite hosting Vlasnia. Copa del Rey, Malaga, Las Palmas, Real Oviedo, and Granada is one of the matchups. And Atletico Madrid at Arentero. Atletico is a big favorite at a -833. But if you can find the photographs of the pitch at Arentero because of the floods, it could be an adventure. So keep an eye on that. River Plate and Union La Calera are playing a friendly at 7:15. Copa por Mexico continues. And you can find that on Tuda NA at Toluca and Cruz Azul at 8 o'clock. Toluca is a +150 at Estadio Nemesio Diaz, and Cruz Azul is a +172. That line is shifting as I'm talking. It has gone down. Cruz Azul is a +166 in the composite. Literally, it went down 6 points the second I started talking about it. Your draw is a +212. Chivas is a +254 hosting Tigres. Tigres is a +100. Your draw is a +222. Going into the soccer on television that we always like to get into, like I said, keep an eye on EFL Cup. We'll keep an eye and see where that is. Carabao Cup, yeah, so 3 o'clock on the Plus, ESPN Plus. 2 of the matches at 1 o'clock on the Copa del Rey, plus the interesting matchup with Argentero and Atletico Madrid, Oviedo and Granada. So 4 of the matches in the Copa del Rey, 2 at 1 o'clock, 2 at 3 o'clock on the Plus. YouTube on DAZN has all 4 matches for Champions League that are going on there this afternoon. A couple of other quick notes before we go. Looking at the numbers for the World Cup. World Cup final reached almost 27 million U.S. viewers. Not necessarily a surprise. Fox's number covering regulation, overtime, and shootout, 17.75 million. Initial number of 16.7 included pregame show. Telemundo reported 9 million viewers watched the match on Telemundo, Universo, Peacock, and the streaming platforms. Initial figures only covered linear. Total of 26.7 plus makes the Argentina-France match the third most watched World Cup final after 2014 Argentina-Germany, which only had 600,000 more on ABC and Univision, and the 2015 USA-Japan women's final in Vancouver on Fox and Telemundo that had just under 27,200,000 more than the Argentina-France match. Total audiences across Fox and Telemundo platforms increased almost 55% from the total audience, linear and streaming, from the France-Croatia final 2018. And the 2018 World Cup was the first men's tournament after Fox and Telemundo acquired the rights to all FIFA events. That is the first World Cup that measures included out of home. 18 to 49 demo. Initial numbers put viewers at 10.2. Only the NFL can top that number traditionally. 18 to 49 demo for the final games and respective finals. NBA had 5.6 million, Major League Baseball 3.8, and the NHL had 2.2. So 10.2 million in the 18 to 49 demo. Telemundo streaming and was 2.96 million viewers was the average minute audience, regardless of language. Most streamed World Cup match in U.S. media history. Big factor that obviously was to air it on Peacock, the home for the Premier League. Super Bowl's record for AMA, average minute audience, was 11.2 million last year in 2022. So that is your news notes and everything else that's going on. Go run errands. Go run errands, Nix, and we'll be catching up tomorrow. Like I said, just pray for the strength of the Wi-Fi and the signal out of South Alabama. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Thanks again to Zach Berly, the voice of Campbell Men's Soccer, to give us the rundown about the first draft pick for Atlanta United. Very, very cool to get that info, so everybody knows what you're getting in a quality individual there. So we'll do it again tomorrow. So since it is Thursday, hope your Thursday thoughts are well. Be safe and make sure that you get your shopping done, get your shipping done, get everything done. And thanks to all of you for being a part, as you always are. So for everybody here at SDH, for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. Play it safe, everybody. Since it is the end of the show, it means I get to do this. Play it safe, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Mucho platiyo.